Hello there, everyone. I'm Gaylen Morse, and welcome to Journey to Recovery. We appreciate having you along today. This podcast is titled Understanding Procrastination. On today's program, we'll talk with Dr. Hal Baumchen about why we put things off and look at 6 key strategies to get out of that awful procrastination trap. Thanks for joining us today. Our podcast focuses on the co-occurring disorders of mental health and substance abuse. We present a wide range of thought-provoking, hopeful, and positive topics from a clinical yet practical perspective. And we provide a solid, truly integrated co-occurring disorder resource you can use in your treatment program or in your own recovery. Our host is Dr. Hal Baumchen, a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed alcohol and drug counselor. He's the executive director of Northland Counseling Services and the clinical director of North Star Regional Co-occurring Disorder Treatment Programs. He's an author, speaker, and clinician with over 30 years of counseling experience. I'm here today with Tim Bode, operations director at Northland Counseling Services, and with Dr. Hal Baumchen, our host at Journey to Recovery. How are you guys today?
Doing well, Gaylen, thanks.
I'm doing well, thank you. You did a nice intro today.
Well, thank you. Are we finally going to talk about procrastination?
Gaylen,
I don't know if we're ready. I don't know.
Maybe we can put it off till next week.
we can do it next week, I'm thinking. So many things get put off by so many people. We thought we'd tackle this project, this topic. I've been meaning to write about procrastination. It started out 9.5 years ago with a program called Bridges, and we do use this topic in Bridges, and people really relate to it. It's a mental health program. People really relate to it, and I wanted to put some finishing touches and make it a little bit better and put some materials together for a book that I'm working on, and procrastination was really the last chapter that I wrote for that book, so I'm happy to use it today and talk through some things that'll be helpful for people as well.
So have you guys ever asked yourself, why do I always put things off even though I know it will cause me stress later on?
It's true, isn't it?
Never ask myself that.
Just keep doing it over and over again. Now, if you've asked yourself that question, why do I put things off and I know it's going to just turn out bad? You're not alone. In 2007, there was this meta-analysis by a University of Calgary professor. And in that study, that wide study that looked at numerous studies, it was found that between 80 and 95% of all college students procrastinate, particularly when it comes to doing their homework or they're turning in an assignment.
80%? I don't know. I think 20% were lying.
I'm with you, Tim.
Many of us are caught in that twilight zone of waiting until the last possible minute in which to start something, and you end up feeling stressed and overwhelmed and tell yourself, I'm never going to do that again as long as I live, and then you end up repeating that pattern.
How about you, Dr. Hal? Do you ever put stuff off?
Well, I put off writing procrastination. But I also have done that thing where I swore I'd never do that again. When I was 18 in 1974, I got a draft notice, and the draft ended shortly after that, but I knew I wasn't going to need a number, but I also had to respond to the draft board. And I didn't respond. I just delayed on it. I meant to do it, probably put it in a drawer, tried to forget about it. And then I got a nasty gram from the government saying, why didn't you turn in your draft notice? So then I had to write a response to that, which was very painful. Probably didn't tell my parents about it because I was so embarrassed and ashamed of my behavior. But when I finally got myself to send that off and explain why I delayed, there was no good explanation. I just said, I stuck it in a drawer and procrastinated, and here it is. I swore to myself, Gaylen, I would never do that again, but I did.
Yeah.
So is procrastination the result of laziness or disorganization, or is it because we just don't care?
Well, the fact is most procrastinators are actually pretty smart people. They're hardworking, very capable. They just have trouble getting things done on time. So we're going to talk about several reasons why you procrastinate, several areas, specific areas that people procrastinate on. And to get us started, I included a little procrastination survey that we use in one of the mental health programs. And I thought we'd talk through some of the items on that survey. And the way the survey works is if you definitely relate to it, then you would mark a 4. If it doesn't pertain to you at all, you'd put a 1, and somewhere in between if it somewhat was true for you.
So the first item on that survey is I put off activities of daily living, such as washing, cleaning, auto maintenance, those kinds of things.
These are non-emergency, non-crisis things that are important. They're little duties that you should do, and those are easy to put off.
I think one that applies to a lot of people is when I'm unsure of an outcome, I'll put off starting the task.
Right, that procrastinator who's also a perfectionist, and I want to get it right and do it right.
How about I have great ideas and plans that stay on the drawing board?
Right. I just didn't get around to doing it. It was a great idea. I wanted to, just couldn't find the time. And so those great ideas stay on the drawing board.
Another one is I show up late for appointments.
Right, that person who chronically runs late.
We have some friends that we always tell them the dinner or whatever is starting a half an hour before it really starts. And there's, as you mentioned earlier, they're 15 minutes late then instead of 45.
Yeah.
How about I waste too much time?
Right, this is a person who's putsy, just not getting around to the important goals and just wasting a little time in the kitchen, cleaning something up, put something away, walk into the laundry room, go upstairs, come back down again, just putzing. What did you do? I don't know. And I just managed to not get anything done.
Or I devise credible sounding explanations to excuse those delays.
I'll bet your dinner guests were late and they had an excuse for being late, but it was a different excuse than the last 10 times
That's
they were
right.
late. Yeah, and they all sound credible. Like, well, how can you get mad at that guy for that? Because, it was an important phone call, came at the last minute, or his computer didn't work and he was trying to fix it before he came to the dinner party. It all sounded credible.
Well, how about I don't stick to my priorities?
Right, so there's a distraction or an interruption that comes your way, which is far more entertaining than the priority or the goal that you'd set for yourself that day.
And related to that, perhaps, is I easily get sidetracked.
Here comes that interruption, that distraction. That's more entertaining. Yep.
I often start assignments at the last possible minute.
I went to school with a man named Nate, and he did this. He was a perfectionist and a procrastinator, and so he would delay the start until he actually handicapped himself. He'd start so late, and then he would rush to get it done, but he still wanted it perfect. And we called Nate, because he delayed on everything, we called him procrastinate. It was a terrible thing. He was one who would start every assignment late.
I'm sure he said to himself, even when I procrastinate, I'm very demanding of my outcome.
Right. And he couldn't let it go. He would even beg for another day. He would be punished or given a consequence like, well, I'm going to drop your grade to a B, but it was more important for him to get it right than to get it in on time.
Another one on our survey list is I fear failure.
Right. Feeling failure is a way that I can't get myself going, because who wants to feel that? And so I delay. I want to call my sister about it, and she's out of town until Tuesday. And finally, I get myself going. But that's because I can't get going because I'm afraid I'm going to fail.
As if delaying increases your chance of success, right?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense,
No,
really.
Not really.
And then possibly related to that, another item on the survey is I worry about what can go wrong.
Everything can go wrong. I can't think of anything. We just had a delay in our podcast because something went wrong.
On the Procrastination podcast.
Yes, right.
I'd like to throw a curveball in here right now if I could.
Sure.
Because I think there's one other thing we haven't discussed, and that is people that are adrenaline junkies.
Right. And why would they delay, but they can't get themselves moving until there's this shot of adrenaline, until they're stressed or anxious at a high enough level and they can finally get going. And then what happens is that burst of adrenaline that keeps them up all night working on a project, then when that adrenaline button is released, they get depressed, can't do anything. And the only way they can get going again is wait for another shot of adrenaline. And then they can finally get up enough energy to get moving again. So it's a very bad process, very bad pattern to fall into. But to your point, Gaylen, it's what drives people to finally get moving.
So speaking of patterns, let's talk about some procrastination patterns. One of them is deadline procrastination.
This pattern includes almost any task that requires a time schedule with a deadline, such as turning in a paper or finishing a project or doing your taxes or fulfilling maintenance schedules or signing up for a class. Anything that requires a deadline is easily delayed.
How about decision-making procrastination?
Because many perfectionists are procrastinators or procrastinators are perfectionists, it can be difficult to make decisions. Did I choose the right one? Can I get more information? Maybe I should wait until my sister gets back from London. The need to get something right or perfect often drives the desire to delay. I want to get it right. I want to do it perfect, but I don't have all the information that I'm going to need to get it perfect. So I better just wait till I gather more info.
That's one that I struggle with.
Okay. There's always good reasons to delay because you could tweak on it or work on it, or I'm not yet ready to start it because I don't have everything I need.
How about health procrastination?
Health procrastination, Gaylen, is anything that pertains to taking care of yourself, your health, counseling appointments, going into treatment, going to the dentist or the doctor, and people delay on that. And I ask people in the mental health program, when's the last time you were at the dentist or the doctor? And sometimes people have put that off for a long period of time. And here's a funny reason that they do that. Like, well, I'm worried that thing in my stomach might be a cancerous tumor. Yes, so you should go to the doctor. Well, I don't want cancer. I don't think the doctor gives you cancer. You either have it or you don't. Why don't you get it checked out? But they delay because they're afraid.
Yes.
Another pattern is lateness procrastination.
This style of procrastination is characterized by chronic delays and a pattern of constantly running behind. It can have some ADHD in it or distraction, trouble focusing, having attention problems. And also people who are chronically late may be anxious or ambivalent about the scheduled event. It can signal a passive-aggressive style of resisting being controlled by someone else. So I don't want to be controlled by you, so I'm going to set the time frame. I'm going to set the schedule. And you want it done by 6? I'm not going to be controlled by you.
The next one definitely applies to someone sitting in this group, and I don't think it's you two. Procrastination by organization.
It's one of my favorites to talk about. This type of procrastination is filled with seemingly plausible excuses for delay. I've been meaning to start a home business, but I want to turn my second bedroom into an office that I would work my home business in. And I'm going to need a desk, so I'll have to ask my friends if they know of any desk that's available, maybe something cheap. And then I'm going to need some bookshelves, but because I'm a woodworker, I could make my own bookshelves, and I've got a table saw in my garage. And I've been meaning to clean out the garage, and I'd have to put that stuff on the walls and make some shelves for the stuff in the garage before I can get my table saw so I could build a bookshelf down in my second bedroom, and the guys would have to help me move the desk in, and then I would have to get a new computer in order to set up my home business. And so I've been meaning to start my home business, but I just can't get to it yet.
When did you start reading my mind?
This outwardly believable line of reasoning actually cleverly disguises the avoidance process and enables that procrastination pattern to continue.
Another one is promissory note procrastination.
I'm not going to handle that one today, Tim, but I promise to get it to you soon. And So that's what that delay is all about. Saying I didn't get it to you. I know you asked me for it, but I promise to get it to you by Tuesday.
How about social procrastination?
Social procrastination is merely delaying anything that has to do with social contact or relationships. Going to that interview, handing in that document to the government, going before a group and giving your speech, having to say your name out loud, and I don't want to do that, so I just didn't go to the meeting. So anything that has to do with social or relational contact can be delayed.
So, Dr. Hill, I know that in the program you also use a list of things that people have been putting off. Can you talk about why you do that?
Right, just to give somebody an idea and help them relate to it a little bit better. So I brought that list along with us today. We're going to talk about a few items on it.
Like writing an article on procrastination?
Yeah, I wrote that for your amusement, because I've been putting off writing this article.
How about fixing something that's broken in the house?
Man, I can walk over a broken thing for a long period of time. I don't know if you guys relate to that. I've been meaning to call a repair guy to come in and do that.
I truly amaze my wife
How long you
with
can
how
delay.
well I can avoid doing some little repair. In fact, I actually fixed one of the faucets in our kitchen, and I won't even tell you how long it's been in need of repair.
Yeah. What is that saying? The shoemaker's children go without shoes.
Yes, right.
He doesn't get around to doing it because he's busy making shoes for other customers.
Right.
The mechanic's wife is the last, or the mechanic's wife's car is the last one that gets repaired.
Right. Yep. One we talked about earlier, going to the doctor or the dentist.
Right. Easy to put that off because I don't like pain and suffering, and I don't want to be poked, and I don't want to find out bad news, and it can easily be delayed until I have more time.
How about an expensive one? Sending in a rebate.
Right. I'm a rebater. My wife buys things on rebate and then flips me the tickets that you need to send in, but I try to get them in on time. But I have been punished for missing a deadline.
Yes.
And I meant to do it and didn't get it done.
And I sometimes think that the store or whoever is offering the rebate kind of counts on the fact that many people take those coupons home and never send them in. Right?
Buy the product, pay the full price. You're going to get refunded the price if you just send your coupon in, your rebate form in, but you don't do it.
I have a friend who works with a rebate company, and they don't pay them. All the money that company makes is rebates that don't get returned. That's how they make all their money.
Interesting.
And it's a very profitable company from what I've heard.
Yeah. How about donating items? Put
Same
that off.
kind of thing. Put that off. You've been meaning to go through your closet, or you put it in a bag to run to Goodwill, but you don't run to Goodwill.
How about confronting someone about a problem?
Again, that relational and social thing that's easily put off. It's going to be uncomfortable. I don't want to bring it up. I'll do it tomorrow. That's what I'll do. I'll do it first thing in the morning.
Contacting an old friend.
Same kind of thing. It seems like that would be a pleasant thing.
Right,
but
exactly.
yeah, we delay on that. I should call Dexter in Orlando, Florida, and talk with him, and maybe I'll do it tomorrow.
Replacing a light bulb.
How many gorillas does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but it takes a case of light bulbs. Dude, you're pushing too hard, man. So even simple things like that. We've got a couple out in the bathroom in my house, and just put a new light bulb in. How long can that take? But it can be delayed.
The three-ways are the tough one. Well, the middle one still works. So why bother replacing it?
Exactly.
That's just being prudent, isn't it?
How about cleaning out the oven or cleaning the refrigerator?
I think I've mentioned this to you before, Gaylen, but Phyllis Diller said, my oven has so much crud in it, there's only room to bake a single cupcake. Yep, she's been delaying on cleaning out the oven. Several different reasons that we procrastinate, what we called catalysts. And one of them was just to dodge discomfort. And I mentioned that one, Tim, earlier a couple of different times already. But people avoid and procrastinate because the thing that they're facing is going to be more uncomfortable than doing some other distraction or some kind of interruption, like playing a game on your phone or something that's going to be much more interesting. But that thing that I'm facing, that's going to be anxiety producing or stressful or cost money or take time. And I don't want to confront that. I don't want to do that.
How about because you're suffering from fear of failure?
Because some people are insecure and unsure of their abilities and they're afraid to fail, they often delay a project that is challenging or difficult. Avoidance of doing something is a sure way to avoid failing at it. However, it sort of brings failure because you didn't do it.
Yes.
Right. And when we've talked about already perfectionism and how that goes together with procrastination.
Procrastination and perfectionism are two sides of the same coin. They're like cousins. Because the perfectionist wants to do things perfectly or right, there's a temptation to delay projects in order to plan more fully, organize more thoroughly, and prepare more completely.
Right.
A couple of ways we can try to limit our procrastination and work against that. Maybe anytime you're trying to fight procrastination, it's going to require a strategy. You're going to have to change the way you think, plan more carefully, be more diligent on your follow through.
So here are some strategies that we think can be helpful for you in avoiding procrastination. Number one is to set a deadline.
A task without a deadline can be put off indefinitely, so develop a clear goal that incorporates your vision, not just empty the waste paper basket, but get some goals around having a clean house or taking care of myself or being more responsible. And then set a date to those things and stick to your date.
How about setting up a reward system?
And you want to make that equivalent to the task. So an afternoon cleaning out your garage, you should reward yourself maybe with dinner out, but not going to Disney World. So we want to kind of limit. How about a 7-day cruise, Hal? This is a big garage. Nope, don't do that. While a 14-month software rollout that you worked on diligently, maybe that could lead to a tropical vacation or going to Disney World. Learn what motivates you, what kind of reward would be kind of helpful or fun for you, and then use that to your advantage.
How about arranging for a follow-up?
Get a nag buddy or an accountability partner here and give them permission to check in periodically to make sure you're staying on track.
Do it first.
This is something that a friend of mine, David, does. He writes an ugly list. He works for an airline, and he's a senior executive. And he comes in and he writes a list of the person he doesn't want to talk to, the email he doesn't want to send, the project he doesn't want to work on. Now, the way this works for him is all of those things will be done by the end of the day. And what he had been doing is delaying the ugly ones to the end of the day and then finally getting to them. But now he does them first. And if he does them first, then you enjoy the rest of the day more than anticipating the ugly task, which you keep delaying, and you sort of ruin the whole day, and then you do it and get it done by the end of the day. But you had much more pain and suffering at the beginning of the day than was necessary. So this is something that he has done, do the ugly thing first.
How about breaking the task into small pieces?
Like paying bills, Gaylen. So you get out the stamps and the bills in a pile and the return envelopes that they didn't include because they're weasels. So you got to get your envelopes out. And can I get all of that done? Yes, I can do that. It's not that hard to get stamps or get them out or put my bills in a pile. So I'm going to break it down into part acts, do the simple ones. And then when you start doing the little one, it sort of unfolds like, hey, I can finish this.
And
I was going to ask, why do people, it's not a joke, it sounds like it would be, why do people delay on paying bills? What do you think?
Keep the money in their account one day longer?
Yes, and I think also I don't want to be confronted with how little money I have and how painful this is going to be to pay all those bills.
Right.
So we want to delay that because we're discomfort dodgers. That's going to feel ugly, and I don't want to feel that.
Yep.
And this strategy is related to do it first. It's do it now.
Don't put it off any longer. Just write it down as a goal and then take care of it. Learn to manage yourself and your priorities. Sometimes you just have to jump in and get it done. I wrote down some quotations, and I thought you guys could read a couple of them, and maybe you can mention who said it, if that's known, and we'll just laugh about these things. These are good.
Well, there are a million ways to lose a workday, but not even a single way to get one back. That was Tim DeMarco and Timothy Lister.
That's a good one.
Nothing is so fatiguing as the eternal hanging on of an uncompleted task, which is William James.
Someday is not a day of the week.
What? It's not?
Author unknown.
Friday, Saturday, someday.
Well, someday is very, very similar to tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow never comes. I'll do it tomorrow.
The best way to get something done is to begin. That one's unknown, author unknown.
That's probably very true, though, isn't it?
Yes, right.
Just let's get started here, and maybe we'll get part of it done. I don't have to finish it. I've got to get it started in order to ever get it done.
Right.
Follow up on my previous comment. Tomorrow is often the busiest day of the week.
Especially for a procrastinator.
Right. That's good.
Here's another one. A year from now, you may wish you started today. That was by Karen Lamb.
That's so true with going to school or something like that. Working on finishing my GED or getting a master's degree or something like. I'd be way down the road if I'd have just started last year when I said I should start this thing.
Mm-hmm. Those are all good.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to today's podcast. Today we were talking about understanding procrastination. We hope you found it valuable. Also, we invite you to check out resources on the web at journeytorecovery.com, where you can download other materials that help you develop skills to identify emotional problems, reduce symptoms, and prevent relapse at journeytorecovery.com. We've been visiting with author, speaker, and clinical psychologist Dr. Hal Baumchen. I'm Gaylen Morse. Thanks for listening to today's program. See you next time on Journey to Recovery. And remember, recovery is a journey. Enjoy the ride.